Visiem. Paldies jums, liels, ka jūs esat atnākuši šorīt pie mums. Mani sauc Māra Pāvula, un šis ir Matīs Eliņš no Somijas. Es sākšu dažus pirmos ievadvārdus pateikt latviski, bet pēc tam mēs pārslēgsimies uz angļu valodu. Es ceru, ka jūs visi esat informēti par tulkošanas iespējām. Tātad ir aplikācija jūsu mobilajā telefonā, un jūs varat visas konferences runas klausīties arī latviešu valodā. Pirmajā sesijā pirmās 2 runas notiks angļu valodā, un 3. runa būs krievu valodā. 2. sesijā 1. runa būs franču valodā, bet pirms 2. sesijas būs arī papildu austiņas, vienā gadījumā kādam tieši franču valodā ir nepieciešams tulkojums. Hello everybody, guests. I just did a small introduction in Latvian. The rest of the conference will be in Latvian and in Russian and in French. In English. Sorry. Tātad vēl viena praktiska lieta, ja noskan signalizācija vai rodas ārkārtas situācija, lūdzu saglabājiet mieru un sekojiet Rīgas cirka darbinieku norādījumiem. Šī konference notiek Labklājības rezidenču tīklu projektu ietvaros, kas ir projekts, kas nu jau norisinās 1 gadu un ilgs vēl 1 gadu. Šī ir jau 3. konference, kas notiek. Ir notikusi jau 1 konference Krievijā un 1 konference Zviedrijā. Un arī uz šo konferenci ir ieradušies Wellbeing Residency, Labklājības rezidenču tīkla grupa, kas turpinās arī darbu pie šāda veida prakses izveides Latvijā un Ziemeļvalstīs turpmākās 3 dienas, tāpēc mēs arī jūs aicinām palikt uz grupu darbu pēc konferences teorētiskās daļas beigām, lai mēs varētu apmainīties ar jums zināšanās un iegūt ieskatu tajā, kas ir nepieciešams tieši no jūsu sektora puses. Bet tagad es gribētu iepazīstināt jūs ar Matīs Eliņu, kurš patiesībā ir iemesls, kāpēc šis projekts aizsākās. Viņš prezentēja šo Labklājības rezidenču konceptu pirms 2 gadiem Pēterburgā, un tad sākot ar Matīju runāt, mēs sapratām, ka šāda veida praksi būtu ļoti vērtīgi izplatīt arī citās valstīs, un nolēmām izveidot šo Labklājības rezidenču tīklu projektu, lai attīstītu šo praksi un izplatītu viņu arī citur.
Thank you. So, hello everybody. My name is Matīs Eliņš. She might explain. That's the only part I picked up from the Latvian speech. Yeah, I'm working as a culture manager in the city of Rovaniemi. This was really nice because I could Now I could use our slide, which shows that it's the official hometown of Santa Claus. But actually this project I'm now telling you about this well-being residency, it dates over 1 year back when I was working in a Arts Promotion Center Finland, which is a government organization. And when I started in 2016 to work as an arts development manager, I bumped into this really nice project my colleague was doing first time. He was like, the main idea is that you merge artists in residency kind of actions, and then you set it up in a social and healthcare organization. But yeah, let's go to the first slide. And actually this arts and well-being field has gone grown really fast in Finland last maybe 8 years, and we have really good government support for this arts and well-being. And there are two, before I go to this concept, I have to explain you about these big themes we have now ongoing in Finland. And because arts and well-being is now really government supported, and we had a big key project which ended, it's ending like this year, which is like fruit of this arts and well-being initiatives in Finland. But yeah, there's two big themes going on. And one is, it comes from the Declaration of Human Rights adopted by United Nations. So it's the idea that every person should have a right to take part in arts and culture. And then you can go to another one. And another big theme is that there are like, let's change this. We have a lot of studies showing that art activities-based art have a lot of well-being effects on people. I can just mention a few. We have this: improve the results of medical treatment and alleviate physical and physiological symptoms, reduce the need and use of anxiolytic medication, painkillers and sleeping pills, help alleviate loneliness and social isolation, prevent and reduce negative emotions such as anxiety, depression and sadness, and help people cope with mental health issues. Just a few. And there is a lot of research behind this. And these two big themes are now, like in Finland, led into this, that we are now thinking about the accessibility of art and thinking these kind of themes, that how can we provide the possibility to make art and experience art for everyone. Yes, let's go to the next one. So this is the demand behind the well-being residency concept. In Finland, like in the city of Rovaniemi, usually arts and culture services which are provided by the municipality, they are organized like in a museum or a theater, but usually it's really hard for the people who are not able to go there to get in touch with these services. If you think like care homes for elderly, for example, they are living in constant care for 24 hours a day, so it's not possible for them to go to museum or theater. So we had to invent something new, that how can we bring the art for those people. And then usually there are, of course, some kind of art actions happening in these closed societies like care homes, but usually they are organized by healthcare professionals, which means that they are recreational activities and art therapy, which are really important. But it's like this we have thinking in the city of Rovaniemi and Finland, that it's really important to affect. I'm trying to find the right word. You should like work with the people before you get the problem. It's kind of a preventive approach. Because it costs more and it's more hard if the people get the problem and then you are using like art therapy to get it better. But it's easier to work with people which are like some kind of under threat for getting like these problems. So, and then there's this thing that there's not so much expertise of professionals in these healthcare organizations. And we have a lot of expertise with artists and art professionals. And that's, we end up in this lack of structure for long-time collaboration. We have had projects, I think you have also have a short project in Latvia, that artists can visit and do a little project with the healthcare organization, but there's no structure for a long-time work. And all these things led us to think that what could be the solution for this. And then came up this well-being residency concept. Yeah. A little bit hard with the mic. Yeah, and this was like my colleague Pauliina Lapia, who was first doing this in the Arts Promotion Center Finland. The idea is that we are merging artist residencies and social and healthcare sector organizations. So it's like artists is, you have a long tradition with our residencies, but not so much, maybe not so much history with the tight collaboration. And it is in this concept, the artists are working in supported housing, service housing for elderly, with disabled, mentally handicapped people, in hospitals, reception centers and prisons. And artists are working, of course, with the residents, with older people. I have a few examples from Finland now, and they are from the elderly people homes, but there's also like you can have this concept and you can use this well-being residency also in like with youth at risk, with refugees or different people. And of course, when an artist is working with this in this community, they are also working with next of kin and staff. It's really important. We have noticed that you have to get staff involved. Usually, at least they give a short workshop for the staff that they know what they are doing with the residents. But in general, it's really need to get them involved and work with the artist. And artists can work in many different ways. You can have like this kind of traditional approach. We have now starting this project in Rovaniemi that we have 2 elderly care homes, and we are now hiring this kind of artist residency. We are hiring an artist to do a mural, kind of site-specific artwork. So the artist goes there and talk with the residents, talk with the staff, and then decides what kind of artwork he or she will do, and then she will paint or do a site-specific artwork there. And it can be, the work can be really like driven from the art. And then there are also these art-based methods and community art projects, more like for example, with performing arts, it's more natural that when there's an artist residency, that the artist is really like doing like dancing with the people and doing it's not necessarily, they are not necessarily making a piece, it's more about the process. And in these well-being residencies, the residency periods have been 1 to 3 months. So we have noticed that 1 month is a little bit short and 3 months is better, but it also costs a lot more. Yes. And then there's this question that how you're gonna collaborate with artists and social and healthcare sector. It's also a question of accommodation, because usually the residency centers have the possibility to accommodate artists. But in Finland we have maybe I would say 3 different models how to do this. And one is that you have an artist residency, like you have here, artist residency, and then you have social and healthcare institution, and then you just make really tight collaboration, and the accommodation can be provided by the residency center. and all this management about this residence period. But in Finland it has been also that in Rovaniemi actually we have this one place where the accommodation is really inside the care home. So it's exactly the same kind of apartment the old people have there, but one is for the artist. And the artist is really living and doing the artwork inside this care home. So you can like do different kind of ways this collaboration. It can be organized with a collaboration with the residency center, or it can be like just independently held by this social and healthcare sector. And you can find the artist, of course, when you're working really with the collaboration with the residency center, it's easier to find right kind of artist for the right place, because they have the expertise for that. And of course, even you have this kind of way of arranging this well-being residency, that you have the accommodation inside the care home, then you still have to like have some kind of third party which has the expertise for arts. So you can find the right person for the right place. And as it says here, usually the artist gets a little fee and the working costs are provided, because it's totally different from the like normal artist residencies where the artists are really free to do whatever they will. And this is more like coming more to the point of view of like ordering a piece from artists. Yeah, let's go forward. Oh, it just went too fast. Yeah, just the next slide. Yeah. Okay. This is actually the picture from the first well-being residency, and when I started as an arts development manager, Pauliina was having this arts residency in Jyväskylä. It's the maybe, how would you say, Kirsi? 60,000 people, 70,000 people? City?
90,000.
90,000. Okay. People from Jyväskylä, they know.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was this dance artist, Helena Ratinen, working there. And when I read this report of this residency, I was so impressed that I wanted to do this in Rovaniemi also and start to make an international project about this. But the objectives of this residency was to promote accessibility of arts and well-being and participation, and to create a sustainable model to offer this collaboration between artists and care home. So what did she do? She was like, going in, dancing with the people, going in their rooms, asking what kind of music they want to listen, and then dancing with them, just moving and giving this kind of like moments of dancing. But she also had like this help for dance classes for children. So there was a nearby daycare for children, and the children came inside the care home, and she would keep dance classes for them, and the elderly people could watch and see the dance classes. And also dance events she had, because we have this long tradition in Finnish about this couples dancing especially for the older people. They are used to that. They used to dance a lot. So she held like this kind of dance events for the elderly people and the next of kin and staff, and they listened to music and did this. And they had really positive effects from this residency. They have like, you could say that the well-being of staff and residents and relatives were really rising in this. And I have like really few quotes from this residency I could share you. It's this. This next quote is from Helena Ratinen, the dance artist, who was the artist in residence, and she said that we have a self-determination to our body. We can ask for touch or deny it if we want. How do we behave in case of memory loss? For example, in a case the resident does not know that she or he have legs. So this is what she was like, these kind of thoughts rise there, and one what she talked about in the report also was that when you are it's really in this kind of healthcare institutions, it's really hard to find this kind of human touch, because as a dancer, she's working with bodies and movement and how to touch people. And she said that it can be so that in elderly care that it's only this kind of medical touch you get from the staff, that they are like washing you or moving you, but not really like a human touch. And she said that it's really the kind of thing that you need. And this raises the question of this kind of touching. And also she said that one day there was a dentist visiting in the unit. His assistant moved smoothly through the room, rolling her instrument table on the same rhythm as me and the resident in the wheelchair. After the dentist had done his round, his assistant took him in her arms and danced him for a while with us. So it was many times when you have art in the healthcare, it also helps these procedures and makes it easier and faster to and of course it feels also better, because you can be afraid of these procedures and really have a music or something, art, but there it makes it easier. Yeah, we can go forward. And then a little bit about this I can give this here. Another resident we have in Rovaniemi, where I come from, is this Saarenkoti, and now I think this summer they have the 4th year now. We started this 2016, I think, first time, and they had first a visual artist living there, and they have this kind of a model that there's an apartment, actually the same apartment that are for the elderly people. They have this same artist residency apartment for an artist, and first there was visual artist working with them, and then this is for the next 2 years. They have this clown there, which was a huge success, because she really it's in this institution in Finland in general. It's really hard to find time in the normal day procedures for the healthcare staff. It's really hard to find time to meet with the people. But then there was this clown who was just for that. She was like meeting the old people, making them laugh, listening, and also participating in these other acts. And they really loved her, and they wanted to invite her. So last year she was there again, the same clown, because it was so huge success. But yeah, and this year they are doing, I think, more visual arts again, this kind of visual arts project. But I'm happy that it started with funding with the government funding the first year, but now they are paying it for themselves. And this is a big question also, that who pays for the costs of these artists. And now when they found out that this is really like what they want, and it's really useful and they really need it, they are paying it now themselves. And this is a big thing also in Rovaniemi. But yeah, more or less, this is the concept of well-being residency, and you can ask always questions if you want. Anybody?
If someone has a question?
Yeah.
Latvian. In Latvian, yes.
Latvian. You can ask it also.
Yes, so this was how the well-being residency works in Finland, but we realized that the healthcare and social care systems in different countries are different, and the exactly copy-paste version of this might not work in the other countries, and that's the reason why the well-being residency network was created. And we have been working now for a year to create individualized tool sets for each of the country. We'll spend the next 4 days in creating the tool sets for Latvia, and we will going to have a tryout of these residencies in each of the country during 1 month, starting this summer. So I hope you have an inspiring day today, and I hope we will be able to have a discussion with you later today and get more knowledge of how should we adapt this kind of concepts for Latvia. And And now I would like to give word to our guest, Catherine Taylor. She's a PhD in clinical psychology. I met her in Finland a few years ago when she was doing research about well-being residencies in Finland.
Hi, thanks Mara. Hello everybody. So I'm going to speak for around about a whole hour. Seems like quite a long time. But I have lots of photographs and we can take time, so if anybody has a question in the middle, please raise your hand. If you don't understand something, I'm happy for you to ask a question at any point. Okay. Well, I'll just introduce myself then. So my name is Catherine and I work in the NHS in England, which is clinical psychology services. So my clinical work is with children and families. So I work with any family and any child that has a problem, basically. And then we try and help them to problem solve. So where the child or family is and where they'd like to be using psychology. And then my research part of my job, for years I've looked at the role of arts in health and well-being. It's taking so much time. Okay, so in 2016, Matty, where's he gone? Where's Matty? Hi, Matty. I went to Rovaniemi and to Vascular, and I had a brilliant, fascinating, very knowledgeable time in Finland because the Arts Promotion Centre put me on a tour around the best examples in Finland, and I learned about well-being residencies, met lots of amazing artists and work in the healthcare sector, and then tried to bring these ideas back to Manchester, which is where I work. No, I'm still not there. Does anybody want to ask any questions about that before this is ready? Because my presentation is maybe quite heavy in photographs, which it takes time. But does that make sense, what I've told you? Yeah. So my report from Finland is called Art Thou Well? And the fellowship came about from the Winston Churchill Travelling Fellowship. Has anybody heard of that? So it's in England. It's nearly here. There's a trust where you can apply. Anybody can apply. You can be artist, health professional. Doesn't matter. Anybody can apply. You have to have an idea, a way to make the idea happen, and then it has to sort of benefit the UK. So the idea is that you travel to different countries, find the best examples, and then bring them back to England. So this was my report, and it was looking at creative approaches to mental health in Manchester. And as I said, it was from the Winston Churchill Trust. So now I work for Lancashire Care, so that's my clinical job, where I work clinically with children and families. And then I work for Greater Manchester, which is a region that is independent from central government in England. So my job with Greater Manchester is Programme Manager, Arts and Mental Health Innovation. So after my fellowship, I returned to Manchester and said to the, sort of over about a year, kept asking, knocking on the door and saying, why is there a role for the arts in health? No, there isn't. Okay, ask again. Have you got a role for arts in health? No. And so repeatedly, I keep asking, and giving the evidence, like Matty has explained today. There's a lot of evidence that the arts support well-being. And so 1 month ago, I now have this job, and my role is to try and innovate mental health services using arts and culture. So it's really exciting, and people are starting to listen, and as Matty said, this has grown a lot in Finland in the last 8 years, and we are seeing a similar thing happen in Manchester now. Over the last 1 to 2 years, people are talking more about culture. Our mayor is talking about think culture before pills. So there's a bit of I would say, a revolution in the healthcare sector happening. This applies to Manchester, not the whole of England. It's kind of a little experiment that we're having. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about introduction. We can say we've done that. Some of the solutions that Manchester are trying to come up with regards to children's mental health, the role of the arts and culture, some of the evidence, but also to think a little bit about what is evidence, what do we mean by evidence, then some example practices, some ideas, findings of my fellowship, and then the last few slides are lots of resources. So, as I said, I've got around an hour and there's about 30 slides, so you can expect every couple of minutes for a new slide. Some of them are just photographs and some of them have a lot of information, but that's because you can take them away and use them later. I found this really helpful when Mara sent this around, but Matty's started with this, so I'll skip this, but I thought it was really helpful to think about what are the challenges that we are here to consider. So as I said, Greater Manchester, devolution is the word that is used to describe a separation of budget and of power. So we have our own government for this population. So Manchester's in the middle, and then around it are 9 more towns. So there's 2.5 million people live here. And the experiment is to try and level health inequalities. And they're trying to use innovative technology, digital revolution, and trying to target health at the root so that we prevent poor health before it becomes a problem. And people are using words like, be radical, be bold, we need to do something differently, because we understand that the medical model, while very, very helpful, is also quite problematic because of reasons that we will explore. So within my job for children, we are trying to make the pathways into services clearer so that people understand what they will get from healthcare. We're trying to improve choice and partnership so that people don't feel like patient and expert, needs to be a partner. Enhanced agency collaboration, so that's thinking about who in the community can help a child. It's not just healthcare people, it can be anybody, it can be the faith sector or the circus, everybody has a role. We're trying to do it in a skills-led way, so again, think about the medical model, it's not just about your symptoms and difficulties, but it's about your strengths and your interests. Okay, so we know what makes it work, and these are the selection of things that make children's services work better. We need to be accountable as a healthcare provider. We need to improve access and engagement. We need to improve awareness so that stigma becomes less of an issue. We want to enhance participation because many young people don't want to come to clinical health services. It's not really very nice for them. And we want to increase delivery of evidence-based practices. So this is a slide for context to think about where the arts might come into each of these parts. So this is Lancaster, which is where I live, which is 1 hour north of Manchester. This used to be, it's not here anymore, it used to be the mental health hospital. And obviously it's a very gothic photograph and somebody's deliberately made it look like this, but however, it really is big, dark, outside of town. It's like on a big hill, really far from town, and just the atmosphere of it is not good for recovery. So this next word might not translate. So this is like the placebo effect. Everybody knows the placebo. Everybody understands what placebo effect is. There's an equal opposite effect called the nocebo effect. So, somebody tells you this is good for you, it will be good for you, the placebo. If somebody tells you that something is bad for you, it's the same principle applies. So if we think about what we tell people about their difficulties, especially young people, they may be anxious. Well, yeah, okay. Many people are anxious. Let's not make that a mental health problem straight away. We need to think, language is very, very powerful. The way that we frame people's problems. And so I think we need to move away from places like this And the next slide is from Finland, where Kirsi took me to this. I have changed the colour a little bit.
I'll forgive you.
Sorry?
I'll forgive you.
Yeah. It was quite a dark day when we went, so I've made the colour even brighter. Just because, you know, like I said, language is powerful, environmental cues are really important. And I think as artists, artistic people are more sensitive to thinking about this, whereas in the clinical world, you get very used to white walls, you know, just very unimaginative spaces. So this is Lapinlahti, which is a community wellness centre. And inside, it's inspiring, you know, it's creative, and thinking about costs and fees and things. This doesn't have to cost a lot more money, it's just about using your money in a different way and thinking about some of the cues that you give to people. A similar place is called Capelli, is that right? Capelli? And this is a huge space in Helsinki where artists work every day and business people work there too. And because of the culture and the recognition, people understand that artists contribute and have benefits to offer, and so the business would subsidise the artists. But this requires an acceptance that the culture has some inherent value. So again, increasing accessibility, having a space that is open for everybody and so big and so central in Helsinki can help reduce barriers to participation. And outside there is this graffiti, which I just love this message. It's plain language, it's speaking to people what they already understand about what can be helpful to you. So this report is available online, and some of the major findings, some of them, as I've said, environment and environmental cues matter. Artists can help counteract the over-medicalisation of distress. And when you think about some of the things that young people are stressed about, it's the internet, social media, the environment. These are very important concerns. Should we be saying that they're a mental health problem? And I think that there is more room within the arts to explore important topics without making people feel like there's something wrong with them, because that's not very helpful, you know. The arts can be very versatile, which again, thinking about clinical services, many young people don't want to come to see a social worker or a psychologist or a nurse, you know, they'd rather engage with a dance practitioner, somebody who they feel understands them more. And again, thinking about the role of choice and decision making, if we want to help young people have more choice, then we need to give them that selection of ways to engage. So there's obvious roles for the arts in mental health services. I wanted to ask a question here to everybody. So, I hear this a lot in Manchester, especially from managers, my clinical colleagues. They say, Kat, we are interested in traditional approaches. So, does anyone want to guess what I say? What do you mean traditional? What do you think they say? Medication, yeah. Therapy. They say we look at traditional approaches. Okay, what do you mean? Medicines, therapies. And to me, the traditional approaches are, if you think, you know, over time and over culture, it's things like group drumming, rituals, things that are, ritualistic, community-based, strength-led. They're the traditional approaches. Medicine and the new talking therapies are not the traditional, you know. And when you pass that back to healthcare, they sort of go, oh yeah, I didn't, you know, they are in the medical models very strongly. And they believe that medicine is the traditional approach. So it's just to think a little bit about the language again that we use and some of the expectations that people have. So this is from Uvascular, and I was with Paulina Lapio, who Matthew mentioned, and this is an example of older adults with dementia in a community, in a ring, and then inside the ring is mothers and babies, and the mothers and babies engage in a dance workshop, and the adults witness this. And because of the style of the intervention, it means that for the people with dementia, it's mostly failure-free. They can just enjoy and relax and engage. It promotes individuality of the patient, and everybody has a role, so you can't really tell in the moment who is patient, who is doctor, who is nurse. People feel like they are achieving something because they may sing along, clap along, play along, have interaction. The staff also find that it supports their well-being. It's less stressful for the staff member to have this type of intervention. And crucially, I think this is really important, there's no side effects from this kind of treatment, if you like. And everybody can relax but still be engaged. And I asked the nurse after this session, how do you choose which older people do you put in the session? And she said, I choose the ones that are usually the most distressed or the most agitated, which I found incredible because everybody couldn't see that at all. And typically in a care home environment in England, the people who are agitated would be given drugs to keep them sedated, which is against guidelines, it's dangerous, it has side effects, and we need to move away from that. So this is a good alternative for people, some people. This is, what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. Ken something. And Land exists in Brooklyn, and it's a community art studio. So he does drawings. We have ceramics and comic, and these are young adults that all have a learning disability. And again, typically, maybe in England, some of these adults would be in care settings with little activity, not really engaged on a level that suits them, whereas this is a community studio. Anybody can visit, and it's full of life, full of skills, and their artwork is sold in major galleries around Manhattan. So you go to the Whitney in Manhattan and you can buy work made by these people because they have been supported to use their incredible imagination and things to be part of the art market rather than be excluded, which is historically what we would do with young people who have learning disabilities. This is another example from New York. This is up in Harlem, and their recidivism rate, which means the rate that people reoffend, so the average is about the average is about 60 to 70% of young men who are in prison, when they come out, will just go back to prison. After this programme, only 15% would reoffend. And there's quite a large programme, you know, it's about lots of things, but part of it is about getting people to perform, getting people to express their problems using hip-hop, using urban dance, things that the person can relate to, and that gives them a real route to recovery rather than just medicating someone, which kind of misses the point, you know. They have difficulties for a reason, not because they are ill. So why do they matter in terms, you know, in healthcare terms, or if I was speaking to a healthcare audience, some of the problems, as I've said, facing youth can be around social media, but also around medicalising problems, which when you're young is not helpful. You need to feel like your problems matter or important. So the arts can be a good alternative, a good safe alternative. They can improve access and engagement. We know that the arts are linked to feelings of empathy, feelings of awe, and if we know that if you induce empathy, so if I split the room in half, right, you half have an experience that's just standard, normal experience, and you half, you are given a dose, if you like, somehow, of awe, and you leave the room feeling that you have touched awe. On the way out, if I drop a pen, you half will pick the pen up more likely than you half. Or if something, you know, an accident happens outside, the people who have experienced awe are much more likely to help another person. So awe is a very important social emotion that we would do well to think about in healthcare. And if you can give people a sense of awe, this can change their behaviour. Thinking about creativity, if you think about what creativity is, psychologically or cognitively, it is problem solving. You know, it's that ability to come up with new connections, the ability to lose your inhibition. So cognitively speaking, we need creative, artistic types in complex healthcare systems to help us solve problems. And also this question, medicine, as I've said, is very beneficial, talking therapies, absolutely. But they do also carry problems, especially using psychoactive medicines. So the arts can have this role without any toxic side effects. So from the report, and like I've said, going through different experiences in Finland and in New York, it's kind of gathering these conclusions, one of which is that there's a role, as you all know, from birth, you know, right through to death. The arts can support a good death, something that healthcare would do well to think about. There's a simultaneous role, this kind of this double-edged thing where they can not only alleviate negative symptoms, but also boost your positive characteristics. And I don't think the same can be said about many things. The effects apply to both healthy people, people with minor ailments, and also people with serious illness or in prison contexts. Again, medication use can undermine some components of recovery. So really, in my work, you're trying to work with people so that they find a sense of agency, confidence, self-esteem, and control over their own well-being. You're not trying to fix them, because that's the wrong attitude, really. So if you give someone a medication, it's like telling them, well, you can't do anything, you need external help. Whereas I think helping somebody to find their creative way through a problem gives them the power of their own recovery. Again, I've said they don't carry risks. This is a very UK-based example, but we have standards in, practice that we should improve patient safety. So this is a report that came out in 2017 in England called Creative Health, and it's basically a compendium, it's about this thick, and it takes you from birth, early childhood, school age, working age adults, right through to older age. And it's got an example of all the different studies that have been done looking at the arts and health. There's a great study in there looking at the role of live music for premature babies. Does anyone know this study? So the researchers looked at premature babies on a neonate ward, and some of the babies were just treated as normal, they've got all the beeps and the machines, and the other babies were given an orchestra in the corner, and they had live lullabies, like beautiful, violins, lullabies, and those babies put on weight quicker and left the hospital faster because of the soothing power of the music. And it makes sense, doesn't it? The body is less stressed, basically, so then the music soothes, the body can then focus on healing, whereas if you are left in a room with beeps and noises, the body will be stressed and you will not heal. So I just love that study. I think it's a very neat study. So this, as I said, this is only available online, and there's a short report as well. There's also a parliamentary debate, which is really, really worth watching. And this was, 2 years ago this happened, and I think since then, there's been a kind of wave of more and more people talking about why the arts are so integral to being human. And I think everybody here, would recognise that. But often I talk to people about arts and health, and they say, well, what's that got to do with anything? You know, how are they related? But it only takes a small conversation before everybody says, oh, right, yeah, of course. But I think the link is not as strong as, say, between sleep and health or exercise and health. So this is an example from Manchester, where in Rochdale, and this takes us back to funding really, so there's this needs-led centre, and it's a partnership from the City Council, CAMS, which is the clinical service, the children's service, and the arts sector. And the funding comes from all together, and the management comes from all together. So it's this kind of new, innovative solution so that everybody has a role, and it locates the clinical services in a creative space. And one of the ways that this has happened is that training and support had to happen for both parties, or all parties, and I'll come on to that a bit more. So one of the things that we found was really important is to deliver training to artists, just like Matty said. Healthcare professionals need some workshop or some thinking time around what an artist might bring. And similarly, if you're asking an artist to go and work in a dementia service or a mental health service, they're going to need some training around what that means and what is helpful. So some of the training provided to the artists in Manchester was thinking about some of the common mental health issues that are faced by young people, how you manage risk, because I think that's probably quite a scary thing to think about if you're working with young people with risk. What are some of the barriers to engagement? What is the relationship between the artist and the health professional, just to make that explicit before you start. Understand a bit about group dynamics, and this was something that people found quite helpful, and it was about how a group forms, some of the typical patterns that emerge, and then again thinking about the expectations of each person before you begin. And then I'm just going to skip forward and come back. So this study was my work between 2013 and 16, before the fellowship. And this was a large multi-site trial where we compared people in care settings with and without art. So people in dementia and origination were led by an artist in a care home for 12 weeks, and they had a 12-week, so it wasn't a residency, because they were only there every week. But nonetheless, they were still present in the hospital, and they went in every week and did a 2-hour session. And then the people with dementia were supported to make art and then to make exhibitions as well. So from that, because it was a research study, and it was led by researchers, there wasn't much thinking about how artists and health professionals would work together. It just started, just went straight in to start. There was no workshops, nothing. And so we found, like you said, it was difficult at the beginning because healthcare staff would say, well, we do art all the time. And then when we asked them, what do you do? They'd do sort of craft, so it's important, useful, but it's very different to being led by a professional artist, and they soon found that out. And some of the things that we found, Matty already mentioned process versus outcome. So a lot of the healthcare staff would say, at the end, they'd say, well, that's rubbish, I could have done that. And we'd say, well, yeah, but it doesn't matter, because that person spent 2 hours helping another person, having achievement and pride. They feel at the end that they created something that's communicating, so there's so many ingredients to making some art that it doesn't matter what it looks like at the end. And also, it's art, some people might like it, some people might not. And I think the artists naturally understand that, but a healthcare professional who is fixated on outcome just didn't, it took a while for them to get to that. Similarly, after the first session, which was a Jackson Pollock jazz themed event, so there's paint going everywhere and music on, and the manager said, I need to talk to you, Catherine, because I was the manager of the trial, and she took me into a room and she said, it's childish. This is not appropriate for our elderly people. It's childish. And I said, oh right, what? Tell me why is it childish? Oh well, people were moving and dancing. There was colour. and I sort of had to say, well, you know, think about it from an artist's point of view. Is that maybe experimental, or is that, you know, is it childish? And so after a conversation, they sort of understood. But again, it's one of those things that it's a matter of training and background. And that could have been avoided, you know, just by having a conversation with the healthcare staff. This will be different, this might be challenging, but don't worry, you know. Symptoms versus ability, so obviously as a doctor or a dementia specialist or whatever your background is, you train to look for symptoms and difficulties and work with those. It's almost like you don't see the ability because you're not there to look for that, you're there to help the problem. And so artists are, again, a bit different. They will much more look for the ability and might miss the problem. So they might give somebody a pair of scissors and not understand that they're not able to use scissors. So it's that kind of balance again between the two. Interestingly, organised versus spontaneous was a funny one, because if someone would be like in the middle of something, like really in the middle, intense concentration, and the artist would be like, oh, this is good. And then the staff would come in like, tea time now, tea's ready now. And we'd be like, can you just wait 5 minutes? No, we can't wait 5 minutes. So there was that kind of, again, the healthcare staff will be on a routine, a schedule, which might not really fit with an artistic practice. And again, you can talk about that before and avoid any conflict. Keeping things familiar, trying new things, so that again, the staff would like to keep it the same, artists would like to try different. I could go on, there's so many of these really, but I think it was just useful to think about them before. Keeping things light versus emotional. So I think this is a really interesting one. I think obviously this doesn't just go artists and healthcare, this is individual. You might well get some healthcare staff that sit, you know, and this last one I think comes down to the person really. Some people want to avoid emotion in the clinical encounter. If somebody gets upset, oh well, we'll move on. Whereas actually that person might have a valuable experience in being upset and being held and putting it into some, you know, sharing it with somebody. And again, I think if you're using art as a stimulus or as a way to engage with somebody, there's potential for it to trigger an emotion quite strongly, and it's good to be prepared for that, really. Okay, does anybody want to ask any questions? Because we're halfway through. Any? Happy? Okay, so this is the parenting pyramid, and it's quite a useful tool. So I'll just talk you through it a little bit. So the bottom layer is about play, because obviously that's how children first learn and understand the world and take turns and share and celebrate. So the idea is that as a parent, you want to do as much play as possible. That's your most potent tool, if you like. The next stage up is that you want to praise the child as much as you can, and just praise all the good things, rather than always picking up the bad things, you know. Structures, having a structure and having boundaries so that the child understands this is clear, this is what I am, this is what expects. This is what is expected of me. This is where the boundary is. Because if that's not clear, that's quite stressful, and obviously kids push boundaries. And I'm thinking when I work with the children with autism, this is really, really important. And if a child with autism doesn't know where the boundaries are, this can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety. Your next stage is to ignore, getting smaller. And at the top is consequences, which you want to use the least. So a lot of the children that come into our service, or the families, what happens is this pyramid has become flipped, so that most of the interaction is about conflict, argument, consequences, most of it. the parents are frightened to put boundaries in because there's so much difficulty, and then the play is just hardly any, it's not happening. And I really like this model because it makes sense to people, but also, after I've been to Finland and then to America, I thought, wow, this applies to society. So in Finland, not many people go to prison. It's quite a, they use it as a last resort, you know, it's a small amount of people in prison. And school is, you go when you're age 7, so there's a lot of opportunity for play as a child. Whereas in America, it's like, you get 2 weeks holiday a year, that's it. And they imprison like I think it's 70,000 per 100,000 people. It's a lot of people, like a huge amount of the population ends up in prison. So they've got the bottom layer as consequences and hardly any opportunity for play. And you can see that as a society, that's really problematic. And you end up with people, a lot of people on medicines, a lot of people with mental health problems. You know, there's a lot of social problems in America. And I know it's a very crude model, really, but I just thought it was really helpful to think about how you might want to manage your population. So in Greater Manchester, there's this emphasis now on creativity and play, because it's not a soft outcome, it's actually really important in helping people to look after themselves and make sure that they make healthy decisions. So another model, which is, again, it's not a residency model, but it could be applied to a wellbeing residency. And I like this model because it takes people who have been in difficulty and trains them to move through their recovery to then become a peer support to other people. So can you imagine the power if you go to seek some help, you're given a diagnosis, that's a bit of a blow, you know, depending on what you think about your diagnosis. It could be a catastrophe just to be told, you know. But if you meet somebody who has anxiety or OCD or a psychotic illness, if you meet somebody who's like, oh, I was psychotic 2 years ago, but I moved through it, and now I'm okay, and now I'm here, and I work here, that's going to have a really big impact on your hope, really. And I think hope is something, again, that when you talk about hope in the medical world, many people will kind of naturally, again, see how important it is. But I think, it's undermined a little bit. So we know from research that hope is the biggest predictor of suicide or hopelessness. So having a lack of hope, that's the #1 predictor of suicide. So really hope should be the target of some of our interventions. But we tend to target the illness, the symptom, you know, the mood. Why not target hope? You know, that's the thing that really helps people. And I think that meeting somebody who's had a journey like you've had can really contribute to that. So that's why peer models that you see in clubhouses, which are all over the world, tend to help people to recover in a more authentic way. So in New York, there's something called Fountain House, and the standard approach to mental health results in a 50% rehospitalisation rate. And for each 2 weeks you're in hospital in America, it costs £28,000, whereas the alternative of Fountain House, which includes creative skills to get people back into work, for the same cost, they get housing, community support services, employment opportunities, education, socialisation, and within that building there's a huge arts studio. It's like this big, where you can do ceramics and everything. And that's one of the steps towards getting people back into work and back into working together. And again, it's successful. Only 10% of people who access this programme go back to hospital. So I think it's just a good way of explaining or revealing how the traditional approaches in healthcare are actually not that good, and we need to do something a bit differently, really. This was a exhibition that we did in Manchester looking at psychotic illnesses in Manchester, which is really common actually. So, I don't know if you know, but city living is much more associated with mental illness than rural living. So, say a male in inner city Manchester, especially ethnic minorities in cities, are like 8 times more likely to develop a psychosis, which again indicates what psychosis is. You know, it's a response to the environment. I remember my mum once said to me, and I thought this was so simple. She said, "Oh yeah, so when an animal becomes distressed, maybe it harms itself or it's rocking or banging its head, we ask what's wrong with the environment, what's wrong with the carer. We don't ask what's wrong with the animal. But when a human acts that way, we say, oh, they've got a mental health problem." So I just think there's something to think about in terms of how we understand people's distress. You know, it's a response, it's a normal response to abnormal situations and environments. So this was an exhibition. I'm just thinking again about the role of the arts on a broader level. It could be about educating people and increasing awareness. So this exhibition explored the experience of city living. And again, having public studios and galleries can be a place to display people's artwork, give them a voice, help people to connect to their communities, can help to shift attitudes. Again, celebrate and market difference. So this makes me think back to Kendrick in New York and how his difference and his disability can be celebrated in a way that makes them more inclusive and more part of society than usual, can help promote skills, meaning and purpose, and again counter hopelessness, disempowerment and isolation. And these are all things that we know lead to poor outcomes in healthcare. And for this to work, for it to be successful, we need quality arts, clinical leadership and quality materials, and the partnerships that happen between people need to be, you know, really well thought out and really well delivered, so that the partnerships are not just, like I said, in dimension imagination. It happened too quickly, not enough lead-in time, and some of the problems that happened could have been avoided just by having these conversations. So again, this is just a bit of a summary, because we're coming to the last few slides, which are a little bit heavier in terms of a lot of words on each slide, but that's for you to take it away really, because I'm thinking about evidence. So as a summary, we've said the versatile, increase agency and self-esteem, empathy and awe. I like this one. So when a medicine is developed, it takes, 20 years? They get a lot of research, and it's about the specificity of the action on the brain or the body, and it's matching one drug to one part of the body, which is very complicated and costly, whereas the arts just kind of go under that and target well-being in a way that's, again, empowers the individual. But it brings us back to this idea that obviously there's not enough long-term investment, there's too much short-term projects with the arts, so it's not a level playing field. So some of the people will say there's no evidence for the arts, which is rubbish. There's lots of evidence, isn't there? But I think the medical model doesn't apply so easily to some of the interventions that we've talked about. And it's thinking about, from this individual level, you've got your absorption, the idea that flow, if you can achieve flow, that's really beneficial for health. And the arts can help alleviate stress, which is critical to recovery. If your body is stressed and your mind is stressed, that interferes with your recovery. And the arts can be a very beautiful, enjoyable way to reduce stress and let the body heal itself. above that, you've got the idea that, you know, the best way to heal, the best way to get better is with other people. You know, we all need other people, and without that, you're kind of at a disadvantage. So using the arts as a vehicle towards social bonding is going to support health. We've talked a little bit about the societal effects, so the idea of what a diagnosis might mean, what that means for your identity. And again, the arts, there's plenty of examples of people in the arts that might have had what we call a mental illness, but the arts kind of give you that other language or other way of understanding that. And then public health, at that level, you've got the idea of health education. I'm not sure if this has happened yet, but I know there's talk about, like governments recommend 5 fruit and vegetables a day or 8 hours sleep or some exercise. There's talk about having your cultural greens, you know, like government should be saying to the population, you should be engaging in some arts and culture for 2 hours a week because that will support your health and well-being. And I don't know does that happen here? No, I don't think so. I think, does it happen in Finland yet? It's happening. Yeah.
Arto has a project that is now this 100 minutes art per week.
100 minutes of art a week, brilliant. That's R2, right?
Yeah. But it's national.
It's national.
It's national.
Team.
Superb. So, you know, where Finland leads, we will follow. And certainly talk about it. So last month I was in London at a House of Parliament debate about the role of the arts and culture, and in that session people were saying we need to move towards a government recommendation because we know that it is protective of health and well-being. So we're nearly there now. The next slide is about evidence, and I'm going to apologise for this slide. I nearly took it out because there's too much on it, but you can take it away with you. It's takeaway. Okay, so this is about levels of evidence that according to commissioners. So I work now with commissioners, so the people who have the money, the power, the people who make the decisions about how we spend money. And to get back to fees, at the moment we're in a position where the arts sector, like with the residential well-being, the well-being residences, it's often funded by the arts sector or the creative sector for now. So in the next year, my goal is to create a paper and some evidence so that in 1 year's time we can say, no, you pay for it because they understand the benefits. So we're collecting national measures, which, and I've just included what they are, but they'll obviously be different for each nation. But in England, we collect for children's services the top 4 as standard. So everybody across the UK collect these 4 standard outcomes. And then the next ones are about, you know, waiting list times, how many people are seen. So it's quite sort of economic data. Then we're going to collect qualitative data, so people's own words of the impact it's had, and that can be maybe focus groups. And I think that's really, really important, and people are more accepting now of qualitative data because I think there's been a bit of a tyranny of quantitative, you know, we have to put everything into numbers, and it's not possible, and not everything that matters can be measured. And I think people are starting to appreciate that more. I think creative outcomes are really important because some of the children that I work with have gone from not being able to go out of the house to doing a radio programme or being on stage and dancing in front of their families, and that's a huge impact. But you can't really put that into a questionnaire or a graph, but it's really, really important. So we're collecting some of the creative outcomes as well. And then the last one is very specific to our programme, but it's about thinking about at the beginning when I said about what are we trying to achieve, choice, collaboration, that sort of thing, and trying to get the arts sector to think about how they measure their impact. So again, it's about making things as explicit as you can between the two sectors. So we are sharing this with theatres and artists all the different arts partners and saying this is what we would expect to be able to use at the end of the year to give them the best chance of being able to get funded from the health sector. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. I knew there was a blank one. I knew it. So this next one, how can we support healthcare to commission residencies? And this was just a few ideas from, well, various places really, and it's all there in what I've said really, but it's about stating the evidence and challenging people who say there's no evidence, because that is not true, is it? You know, even just think about music. We know that music supports learning, cognition, child development. Playing an instrument uniquely engages the whole brain. You know, it's both sides of the brain. It's like learning new languages. You know, it's really beneficial to brain health, basically. We know that music is protected in dementia, so people don't forget music. You know, there's something about it which is, you can't say there's no evidence. It's just about, the evidence isn't in the form that you would see from medicines. You know, here's the effect, here's what it does, this is what it, you know, it doesn't work like that. It's more general. Again, helping the healthcare providers to see what is the rationale for the arts as vehicles, and giving it in those terms about access, engagement, thinking about stigma, aiding communication. There's so many possibilities for why the arts might help the healthcare provider. And even, I like what Matty said about it being, it just makes it easier. If you've got to have a procedure or intervention, and I know in Manchester we have hospital clowns in one ward, that's all, but also the radiography department. When you go into radiography for children, it's like a spaceship. There's like lots of rockets everywhere and stars on the ceiling and things. And they've shown that that ward uses less radiography, less pain relief. The children have one session rather than multiple sessions, because it goes better, and so it costs less and it's better for the child. And that's just the environment again. So it's finding good examples and speaking to the person who, whatever their healthcare provision is, and trying to match it. Again, collecting outcomes, using the evidence that are relevant to your organisation, demonstrating how the arts build on community resources, and creating a diverse range of options for care. And I'm guilty of this. Avoid presenting it as either or. It's not either or, it's trying to do it together so that it can complement each other. So I think this is the final slide before before resources. So some of the recommendations at the end of my report. This first one comes from Finland actually, because you do need support at the structural level, at government level. In Manchester it started off saying this is going to be grassroots, community-led, led by the people. Great, but you also need support from those in power. You need both really. Tackle stigma using the arts, increase everyday awareness, recommend a minimum weekly intake. And I've said all this really. The arts on prescription and social prescribing, do you have that here? No. So arts on prescription is exactly what it sounds. And social prescribing that's become quite a common in the UK now. And recently there's been 250 new jobs created for people to link health and less clinical options for treatment. So that's known as social prescribing. So other recommendations would be to try to improve patient experience using creative approaches, develop criteria about what good practice looks like, and invest in quality training. And that's something that's ongoing in Manchester. We're trying to develop a lot of tools to help this work as best it can, really. So that's the end of my slides, and then there's a number. I think we can share these, can we, if people want? And there's just some resources at the end. And then this is the photos from Finland. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues, and thank you for having me.
Is there any questions? Vai kādi jautājumi? Mēs varam gan latviski, gan angliski. Ne? Yeah?
So, have you done any residences in Manchester? Is that the plan?
No, we haven't got residences. I think that we are maybe 5 years-ish behind Finland. I think that there's a kind of similar trend, but it's not really a residency concept, it's more weekly. But I think it's something that we want to move towards, we want to try, yeah.
A very short question. When you would recommend a weekly or monthly, whatever intake of arts, that would of course be active intake. Meaning it would not just be going to, well, that of course also good to go to exhibition and see something and so forth, or cinema, but you would mean active participating as creating something. Is it so or not?
Not necessarily, no. I love that question. So, yeah, is it active participation or is it viewing? So, there was a study from Australia with 700 people in it. There's a research paper called Longitudinal Effects of Engaging in the Arts, and that study found that it doesn't matter if you actively participate or if you go and watch, say, a ballet or an opera or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you go to a museum and just look and observe, that also has a benefit, which I think maybe actively participating, you would imagine has more effect, but just observing has a protective effect as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. So the next one, I'd like to invite Odd Happens from Norway, who will present the progress in this topic in Norway. Yes. If you want to go to pick up a coffee while we put on the presentation, or take blankets if you're cold, tad lēdīt, ja jūs vēlaties apsekties vai paņemt siltu kafiju, jūs gribēs ar nosaluši, mēs turpināsim tūlīt. Kāds pusminūtes.
kör bara direkt. Jo, jag tänkte att vi skulle behöva följa härliga upplevelser i konferensen i höst. Med någonting kanske i höst. Eller mejlen handlar en fråga. Vem av de strategerna har satt det in som har sagt det? Är det Hanna som har hand om hälsa? Om man har några pengar så kanske vi kan köpa liksom program för det här sättet. Jag tänker att man ska också kunna göra, man har redan haft en större för hälsa och ungdomar. Till exempel man ska kunna ha något som handlar om hälsa inom demens. Alltså så man kanske fokuserar lite om de samverkar överförandet också som kan just när man själv tar initiativ och så. Ja. I alla fall du. Ja. Ja, det var
atgriezties vietā, savās vietās, droši ņemat līdz kafiju, un mēs varam turpināt konferences norisi. Please take your coffee cups and come back to your seats so we can continue with the next speaker, Odd Hopness from Norway.
First, I will say thank you for the invitation. And Mara now thinks that I'm going to have a speech, but this is not true. I will start in another way. And could you place the coffee cups under your chair? If you are kind. And could I see if you could move and stand? Is it possible from where you sit? And also, is it possible to sit down again? Okay. Because we are going to do some small piece of art. Could you follow me? I will demonstrate first. We are going to sing together. My bunny is over the ocean. My bunny is over the sea. My bunny is over the ocean. Oh, bring back my bunny to me. Together. Could you follow me? My bunny is over the ocean. My bunny is over the sea. My bunny is over the ocean. I'll bring back my bunny to me. If you can't move, you could use your hands. And then bring back, bring back. I'll bring back my bunny to me, to me. Bring back, bring back. I'll bring back my bunny to me. Thank you. If we have been looking to the brain now by PET scanning, we will see a lot of activity all over the brain. And that's what arts do also. It's something that happens in a broader scale in the brain. Well, I felt in Norway, I would say, when we have conferences, we always do this now. 3 years ago, 4, 5 years ago, we didn't. We have changed, we have adapted some of the knowledge to the conferences also. Okay, enough. Matti and Catherine have been talking about the changes and the challenges in how arts and health, two sectors, can cooperate. And in Norway, we discuss if arts and health is an art sector, or is it connected to the health sector? In Norway, we see now that arts and health is a powerful way of bridging sectors. And therefore, it was established 5 years ago, a Norwegian Resource Center for Arts and Health. I start there. It's a strange construction because there are 5 partners. It's a municipality, Levanger Island, and where people live, of course, in municipalities. It's also a county, Nord-Trøndelag. It's a hospital and 2 universities that deal with education and research, Nord University and the Hunt Research Center. It's a part of the University of Trondheim, and it's quite well known in Norway and other places. But this new resource center was written into a white paper in 2013. Might be a little bit strange, you say, you think? But it was written there, so it's a part of the national policy. Also show you where Levanger is. And it's financed by the Norwegian Directorate of Health. Here is the board. To the right and to the left, these are researchers. And to the left, he is the leader of the Hunt Research Center. And it was written, I will show you the text, I don't read all of it, of course, and some of the slides I will go further through, quick through. It was that the municipality, in collaboration with established research and competence networks, will bring a new structure together. And we had to cooperate with the National Advisory Service for Aging and Health, which is a big organization in Norway. Why this? And how was it possible? Norway, of course, is a small country, about 5 million inhabitants, and have European, might be the longest coastline, so we are fishermen from history. Well, it started with arts in hospital, then UNESCO culture and health. And from 96 to 99, it was a national program for arts and health in Norway. 35 projects, 20 municipalities were involved, and money both from the culture department and the health department. That is not very common in Norway, funding from both. Levanger was one of the 20 municipalities. And the resource center is because of the region's work in this field the last 20 years. I will go very quick now, but I will take the last one. I have this only, as Catherine said, so you could read it later. Nordic conferences have been very important to keep the field alive and versus spreading. To meet is very important. Our work and the authorities, the national authorities, says that we should work with research, education, and good practice, and that research and good practice should be linked together. And as Catherine said, it should be enough research. We could discuss this, we should discuss a little bit, because enough research for whom? Not for all decision makers in Norway anyway. If we had harder and bigger constructions. But it's the creative work, the art that made the changes. And I will say this is ordering from the health department. I take the first, because we should document and develop song, dance, and other expressions of the arts within a professional health and care giving framework. And in Norway, as might have been said before, the authorities says and accept that the research on music and song is more accepted and more thoroughly than, for example, the research of how fine art it could be used in health and care. And the target group are twofold: employees in the municipal health and care sector, researchers, students, others, but also artists. And the second group, we have to work with people with dementia, because this will be a great challenge, especially in Norway from 2025, might be also in Latvia here. But also people linked to mental health care, mental disabilities, and other vulnerable individuals. And also we have to think about the arts' role here, because this construction is anchored in the health and care system in Norway. What's happening then with the arts? It's very important to us to say that art should have their own freedom, and artists should have their own freedom, and we are not going to use arts as an instrument for health. But we have to have more than two thoughts in our head at the same time. But the health benefits from participation in the arts, both during the activity, the experience, and long-time effects. And the health systems are especially interested in the long-time effects, long-term effects. The Hunt study I will show a little about. It's a total county population-based study. And 10 years ago, we could have this questionnaire in the study where I with other researchers, we put up this, and you say, but this is might be not good enough, because we say that active and I will say passive, we made these changes and differences, and it's possible to be critical to that. But we done this. How often in the last 6 months have you been to museum, art exhibition, concert, theater, film, church, chapel, sport events, and participating in music, singing, theater, parish work, outdoor activities, dance, and so on? And this is a part of a big study that they also measure height, weight, blood pressure, and they take biological samples and can take out also hormones and other things. So we have an interesting study here. This is with 50,000 people have been asked, and they found out, Kuipers et al., 2011, that those who participate in cultural activity experience better health, are more satisfied with their life, and have less occurrence of anxiety and depression. Well, you can say, we know this before. Why is this important? Well, we know this from smaller studies, like 1,000, like 100, but this is 50,000 people. And the health authorities in Norway said, okay, this is like smaller qualitative studies, and well, this is really something. Our center have also a Parkinson project, weekly rhythmic training with music and voice training for patients with Parkinson's disease, from 18 to 25 people from 4 municipalities. We do every second year quantitative tests and qualitative measurements, and there are promising results, and the article will come in 2019. Here we see from the training. We also have a nice small project, the pattern project. A fine art artist, Anne Helga Henning, she works with elderly people with dementia diagnosis and the staff, using filth, making patterns, making pictures, and she's always also working with children. This is what one of the elderly people have made. There also, and Anne Helga also train staff, and we will also have made some materials that how health and staff people can do it themselves. The center work with dissemination. Here is Steinar Krokstad, the researcher from Hunt Research Center, and to the right is Therese Törell, is a quite well-known international stress researcher at Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. We cooperate with him and others there. This is a part of our job. Also, I take as an example, we had a conference in April in Bergen, Art, Empowerment and Care, how dance, fine art and music can be a resource in elderly care. It was a lot of interests from both healthcare people, staff, and also artists and organizers. Keynote speaker was Gunnar Guschel, Karolinska Institute with the cultural brain. And we could like it or not, but I see that the development of the brain research and how art affect on biological and physiological changes are important. Myself, I mean that what's happening with well-being and with the social interaction is as important. Here we see we did some exercises at the conference. We are going to establish a new Nordic journal for arts, culture and health. Scandinavian University Press. It's an open access journal also to spread information. That is very important. There is a Norwegian Resource Center together with Volda University College, Region Skåne in Sweden, University of Aalborg, Musikhögskola, the Music High School and Music University in Stockholm, and Turku University of Applied Sciences, where also Kirsti is involved. I think this is important to spread the knowledge. First edition, autumn 2019. But the authorities said we have a lot of research, but it's not enough on effects on arts work in healthcare. And as a response, when we wrote this research protocol for Hunt 4 that we have done now in Nord-Trøndelag in 2017 to 2019, we wrote this. I will not take all, but we said that it is a unique possibility if our questionnaire could be taken with, and we got it there, to find new combinations where arts is connected to different kind of health improvement. About 50,000 has responded also this time as for 10 years ago. Well, I take part too, because we also got a national program, a music-based educational program for health and care employees. This was from the Ministry of Health in 2015, and it stands. Furthermore, it is proposed allocated 500,000 euro to develop and disseminate training program in music-based care by integrated use of music and song to employees of health and care system. We made an application with other centers in Norway, and others also applied, and we got this program and started in 2016. And I think what the authorities looked at, it was what research could be used in policy making. In the white paper from 2013, we see that they refer to two PhDs. Audun Mysja is working with us, and Anki Sandel. Mysja is a, I will say, music therapist from Norway, and Anki Sandel is from Sweden. This is written in the white paper, and it was one of the reasons why the new program came. If I take it in a very simple way. The training program is based on music training and music education that everybody dealing with music could do. Elements from neurologic music therapy. It's from the USA. It's more based on what's happening in the body than the Nordic music therapy. Neuro research and resource-based psychology. Main partner here is the National Advisory Service for Aging and Health. And I think I have summed up here because, as we have heard earlier, strengthen cognitive functions, but also to give meaning to life. It has to be meaningful for us. And the aim is to learn health and care workers active singing, dancing, and passive music listening. I don't like these ways of talking about it. For listening to music is not passive. Might be, but it is not. But we did it this way. What's very important is that we start with music that people accept or like. Also group activity, also as physical activity. People with dementia diagnosis is important, but also our group, for example, in mental health. We have courses. The instructors are music teachers, musicians, dancers, music therapists, doctors and nurses with music training and others. Courses, but also education with credits at the North University campus Levanger. It's also interesting. Here is Audun Mysja and Hanne Berg, two of the doctors, medical doctors, that have education in music also, one of the courses. Here is the courses with one work day in each county, training books with 6 study subjects, and study groups in the workplace. Here is the material that all that will participate will get. It is in Norwegian, but we hope to also to bring an English version next year. We'll see. $3,000 people, included students, have completed it. Not yearly. I'm sorry. The word yearly should be taken out. I will do in the presentation. But as we have, this is not a surprise. Less use of medication, but also increased satisfaction among employees and improved function. And the project is extended to 2020. At television, Norwegian television, we have also some reportage and programs. I have the link so you can look at this. It starts at 3 minutes 24 seconds out in the reportage. But what might be more interesting is that we have a new white paper for elderly care in Norway. This was in the parliament, accepted in December 2018, and it will start to implement in 2020. But music-based caregiving is one of 5 methods and activities for elderly care that will be promoted and implemented in the healthcare the next 5 years in Norway. We are happy for this. It's a lot of work. And we see the challenges. I will take that at the last, or quite late. Apply for and get grants for research on impact on music-based caregiving. Why this? Because the authorities say, yes, we see that you have these programs, but is it the music-based caregiving, or are there other reasons? It could be because in real life it's so difficult to find out what's really happening. And also, if 2 or 3 people from, for example, an institution come, how could they spread it at the institution? To spread is very important. 2, 3, or 5 have been are very eagerly coming back, and the others say, oh no, this is not possible. So we have to make the changes. We have to convince municipalities that implementing systematic use of individualized music is a good investment in dementia care and for other vulnerable groups. Why do I say this? Because the municipalities will themselves decide what kind of new competences they want to learn. Might be in technology, it might be in other areas. So we are working on this now. To develop this method for schools and for other groups, and to cooperate with academics and practitioners in other countries for together developing and spreading knowledge. Because I think that we have so much to learn for what's happening in Finland, in Sweden, in Latvia, and in Great Britain, of course. So, to raise the whole field, we have to cooperate. I think I stop there. I have used a little bit less than 30 minutes. I think that is very good. Enough. So if there are any questions.
What is the difference between music-based caregiving and music therapy?
Music therapy in Norway is methods that you can use when you have a 5 years education master in music therapy. Music-based caregiving is that the effects of music also could be used on health and care stuff. And we see that it's that it works.
Does the providers of music-based caregiving have also some training?
Yes, you have to to train during the courses, but you don't need to have a music background to use this method. If you have it, if you sing in the choir and so on, it might be nice, but you don't need to have it. Because what you do is you make up some music examples for, if it's dementia people, it's for when you wake up music, and at 10 o'clock and during when you have eating and so on. Or in mental health, samspel, what's that? Play together, and so on. And about, I have to say, as a comment to Catherine here about the Australian study, I know that. But we also, will it be different to listen to a choir or to sing in a choir yourself? What do you think? There are differences. And the differences would be in a study from, a German study from 2000, Beck et al. It was that if you listen, they could measure well-being and to reduce the stress hormone cortisol. But only when you sang, you could produce more of a hormone that is a part of your immune system. It's a kind of globulin hormone that was raised after 1 hour singing. It's a Becca now. Okay? Yes?
I see you have a lot of research about music therapy in Norway. And
Yeah.
who choose to make a research only on music therapy and not on visual art therapy? Or dramatic?
I think it's a very good question. I think that the research in Norway is not only music therapy, but also to sing in a choir, qualitative studies and quantitative studies. And I think it's because the authorities, what is brought to them is that it's more research on song, music and dance movement. And that we don't have so much art therapy and art therapists in Norway. Therefore, I think the research will follow the active groups in our society. Okay? Yeah.
I do have a question, but I also want to say, I don't think I was clear. I think there are differences. I was just saying that the effects are still there even if you just watch, but then there's more effects for participating, yeah. I wanted to ask you said there's evidence not missing, but the authorities say it's not enough. What's the bit that's missing? Is it the long term, or is it the numbers, or what? From a Norwegian perspective, what do the authorities want?
I think the health authorities in Norway are quite conservative. They are looking for more long-term studies in how, for example, fine art will affect on different health situations. So more quantitative studies, they say, but we say our center is that qualitative and quantitative is both very important. The researcher says that the sum of the quantitative studies and the qualitative studies And the studies for what is a deep meaning for a person is the Howell effect. But our authorities don't accept that. Still, but it's coming. Also, we have done a study on clowns. One of our staff at the Konferencē Center. It's a beautiful small study on the effect of clowns in elder care. Clowns.
Thank you very much, Og. So, as we are in the circus, and we have heard about music therapy and the art, but now we will have a more precise example of how circus can have a social importance. So I'm inviting on stage Alexandrina Ionova from St. Petersburg. She's going to speak in Russian, and there is available translation both in Latvian and in English in your headphones. Alexandrina is from a wonderful place called Uppsala Circus, but I will let her herself talk more about it.
Всем привет! Я очень рада быть сегодня здесь. И это тот случай, когда ты очень радуешься, что директор твоей организации очень творческий человек и не может поехать на эту встречу, потому что в ее паспорте закончилось место для печатей. И тебе говорят: Саша, надо выступить, и ты говоришь: окей, я спасу эту ситуацию. Я работаю в Uppsala цирке уже 10 лет, и сейчас, последние 4 года, я руковожу проектом, направлением работы в Uppsala цирке с особыми детьми. Сейчас я коротко расскажу про то, что вообще такое Uppsala цирк, как мы работаем, и немножко подробнее смогу остановиться на проекте с детьми с синдромом Дауна. И, может быть, вы зададите какие-то вопросы, я смогу рассказать это подробнее. Uppsala цирк существует в Петербурге с 2000 года, и сейчас это большой социально-культурный проект. Каждый год у нас занимается от 70 и больше детей. Это дети, оказавшиеся в сложной жизненной ситуации, дети из каких-то проблемных семей, дети трудовых мигрантов, дети из приемных семей и дети с особенностями в развитии. Но в основном мы работаем с детьми с синдромом Дауна. Uppsala цирк сейчас уже такая большая организация. Мы построили цирковой шатер на 250 мест для зрителей. У нас каждый день проходят занятия для детей. Практически каждую неделю мы показываем наши репертуарные спектакли. И мы уже так умеем рассказывать о своей организации, что каждый раз у нас на спектаклях «Аншлаг» мы проводим большое количество творческих мероприятий. Это и лагеря, арт-резиденции, фестивали и какие-то семинары. Но начиналась вся эта история с Uppsala цирком с одного человека, и это как раз пример того, как одна сумасшедшая идея может вырасти в какую-то такую очень большую историю. В 2000 году из Германии в Санкт-Петербург приехала немка Астрид Шорн. Она была студенткой последнего курса университета, и она занималась социальной работой, и в Санкт-Петербург она приехала, чтобы написать свою дипломную работу. И темой своей работы она выбрала уличный цирк в работе с трудными детьми. В 2000 году в Петербурге ситуация с уличными детьми была очень серьезная, и первых артистов Астрид искала прямо на улице, на Невском проспекте. Это были такие, знаете, точки, где дети безнадзорные собирались, и это был Московский вокзал в центре города, Невский проспект. И вот эти вот первые артисты, они были прямо с этой улицы. Самое интересное, что сейчас, через 20 лет в цирке, из первых артистов 3 человека работают тренерами, которые изменили вот так вот свой жизненный сценарий и смогли перестроить свою жизнь. Но в начале в Упсала-цирке это все было построено только на энтузиазме. Астрид встретила Ларису Афанасьеву, которая стала директором, художественным руководителем организации. И они занимались с детьми сначала на улице, в парках, в благотворительных столовых, в каких-то спортивных залах, в коррекционных школах, то есть там, где была возможность бесплатно заниматься. И так продолжалось до 2012 года. И только в 2012 году Упсала-цирк получил свое постоянное место. Это бизнес-компания, крупная компания «Теорема», которая занимается строительством таких бизнес-пространств, бизнес-центров в Санкт-Петербурге. И вот на территории одного из этих бизнес-центров мы построили свой цирковой шатер. И, наконец-то, Упсала-цирк обрел свое место и получил возможность уже хулиганить по полной, потому что мы успокоились, что нам не надо со своими чемоданами, декорациями бегать из одного конца города в другой. И мы стали уже работать по полной программе. Что такое метод цирковой педагогики в нашем понимании? Это такое сочетание цирка и социальной работы, так как мы работаем с детьми, которые в привычном обществе считаются такой маргинальными ребятами, то мы для каждого ребенка ищем такой подход, чтобы его не испугать и предложить ему какие-то варианты для его развития, которые его увлекут, потому что подросткам из коррекционных школ часто бывает ничего не интересно, и вот эти методики, которые предлагаются в российских школах, их совершенно не цепляют. А цирк — это метод, который позволяет подросткам реализовать свою такую кипучую энергию, зачастую разрушительную, и цирк позволяет им направить это в какое-то такое безопасное русло и реализовывать вот эту потребность в риске безопасным способом. Мы разрабатываем для ребят программу с цирковыми тренировками. Помимо этого, с ними работает социальный педагог, который решает вопросы, которые бывают в семьях детей. Это могут быть совершенно разные вопросы. Это от того, как разобраться с учителями в школе, помочь выстроить отношения, точно так же, как, например, если в семьях есть зависимости у родителей, как помочь родителю выйти из ситуации, я не знаю, есть ли такое слово «запой» в английском, в латвийском языке. То есть приходится решать совершенно разные ситуации. С этого года, с 2018 года, мы запустили программу для детей антибуллинговых семинаров. Мы много говорим о том, как принимать людей вокруг себя, видеть разных людей, как выстраивать отношения с разными людьми, как общаться с людьми с особенностями в развитии. И наша идея такова, что любой человек ценен. И творчество каждого человека ценно. И каждый человек, каждый ребенок талантлив. И мы создаем вокруг детей такую среду, в которой они могут безопасно раскрыть свои таланты, где они учатся говорить, и где они не боятся высказывать свое мнение. Сейчас, к 2019 году, есть основные проекты в Упсала-цирке. Это цирк для хулиганов. Это как раз то направление, где мы работаем с детьми, и оказавшимися в сложной жизненной ситуации. Это центр «Пакетан». Это работа с детьми с особенностями в развитии. Школа цирковой педагогики. Это дополнительное образование для взрослых. Фестиваль «Балансировка». Это фестиваль современной стрит-арт-культуры. И цирк «За забором». Это проект с подростками, совершившими правонарушения. Цирк для хулиганов. Сейчас в этом проекте занимается порядка 40 детей. Это ежедневные занятия в группах разного уровня у нас на территории цирка. Дети каждый день приходят, у них 2-3-часовые занятия. В рамках этих занятий они занимаются различными цирковыми дисциплинами. Это акробатика, жонглирование. Недавно мы ввели занятия на цирковых полотнах, потому что мы стали обращать внимание, что, например, для девочек у нас существует меньше вариантов, чтобы успешно развиваться, и мы стали придумывать, каким образом можем мы привлечь больше девчонок к занятиям в цирке. Также с ребятами занимаются хореографы, и есть преподаватель по брейк-дансу, который тоже наш выпускник. И для нас цирк — это не просто цирк, а это микс из разных искусств. Это не тот классический цирк, про который обычно думают люди в России. Это, знаете, вот история с животными, с несмешными клоунами, с этими блестящими купальниками в блестках. Вот это вот все, это не наша эстетика. Мы любим современный цирк. Для нас цирк — это смесь разных современных искусств. Это то, что интересно подросткам. Это то, что их цепляет. Потому что детям надо предлагать, общество развивается, жизнь развивается, и оставаться на уровне вот этого мозга Советского Союза и предлагать эти варианты как 40 лет назад, но это уже не работает с детьми. С ними работают какие-то современные методики, современное искусство. С ребятами из проекта «Цирк для хулиганов» мы ставим спектакли. Это часто инклюзивные спектакли, в которых мы перемешиваем участников. То есть на одной сцене могут находиться ребята из семей мигрантов, ребята из групп социального риска, профессиональные артисты, профессиональные музыканты. И вот этот вот микс, он создает такую площадку для обмена идеями, и люди общаются на равных, и мы создаем такой, вы знаете, творческий продукт высокого уровня. Потому что к нам сейчас на спектакли приходит совершенно разная публика, не только та, которая находится в зоне проблематики, например, знаете, если ты работаешь с людьми с инвалидностью, и к тебе на спектакли приходят только люди, которые занимаются работой с людьми с инвалидностью. Это такая история про сегрегацию. Мы уходим от этого. И к нам сейчас на спектакли приходит семейная аудитория, приходят люди, которые, такие, знаете, ценители театральные. И для нас это классно, это такая вот открытая площадка для обмена идеями. Вот, например, вот этот проект «Хулиганы за мир», его начали в прошлом году, и неделю назад была премьера этого спектакля. В этом проекте участвовали наши ребята из групп социального риска. Это были ребята, беженцы из Сирии и Афганистана в Германии, и ребята с немецкой стороны. То есть мы проводили такой лагерь в Германии, где ребята говорили про войну, про свое отношение к войне. Они говорили, ребята, беженцы из зон военных действий, говорили о том, что они никогда в жизни не хотят больше видеть войну. И это был способ заставить наших детей задуматься и начать думать самим, что же такое война и где их отношение к этой ситуации. И неделю назад это была премьера спектакля, такого документально-циркового спектакля, где ребята говорили на важные для них темы. И для нас эта история про то, что это классно, что наши подростки могут озвучивать свое мнение. Потому что этот навык очень часто, он никак не развивается у детей. Они говорят то, что от них хотят услышать. Потому что взрослые часто хотят, чтобы это были удобные дети. Но наша задача, чтобы дети могли выражать себя, выражать свое отношение к этому миру, задавать вопросы этому миру. Это мой любимый проект «Творческий центр Пакитан». С детьми с особенностями в развитии Упсала-цирк начал работать тоже примерно 10 лет назад, когда у него не было своего места, своей площадки, и ребята занимались в коррекционной школе. И параллельно с занятиями с хулиганами Лариса Афанасьева, наш художественный руководитель, стала вести, просто попробовать занятия с особыми детьми. Через несколько лет тренерами в этой группе с особыми ребятами стали 2 выпускницы цирка. И когда мы уже построили свой цирковой шатер и получили эту возможность вести регулярные занятия, не боясь, что в любой момент нас могут попросить покинуть помещение, мы набрали первую группу детей с синдромом Дауна. Сейчас они занимаются в цирке 7-й год. За это время участники этой группы смогли принять участие в 3 инклюзивных спектаклях. И спектакль «Я Басё», который мы поставили в 2016 году, год назад стал лауреатом национальной театральной премии «Золотая маска» в России и премии «Арлекин». И вот «Золотая маска» — это, знаете, это как будто бы получить «Оскар», потому что это самая престижная театральная премия. И мы, когда это случилось, это, знаете, это было доказательство того, что мы действительно делаем не ерунду какую-то, что действительно дети, когда они выступают на сцене, они красивые. Это спектакль не про инвалидность, это спектакль не про то, что дети выходят и говорят о своих проблемах, мы инвалиды, и давайте что-то делайте с этим. Нет, дети выходят на сцену, и они рассказывают свою историю, они очень красивые. И люди, когда сталкиваются с таким явлением, они, в первую очередь, они видят красоту. И вот это такое безопасное, знаете, безопасное знакомство публики, зрителей, общества с тем, что очень много разных людей вокруг нас существует, и что все эти люди, это странно говорить, имеют право на то, чтобы быть в этом обществе, чтобы вести диалог с этим обществом, чтобы быть услышанными в этом обществе. И в 2016 году мы тоже поняли, что мы хотим, чтобы как можно больше детей с особенностями в развитии могли творчески заниматься творчеством, участвовать в спектаклях и жить вот этой полноценной жизнью. Мы открыли творческий центр «Пакетан», и сейчас в этом центре занимается около 40 детей с синдромом Дауна. И в прошлом году мы стали пробовать работать с детьми с аутизмом и с умственной отсталостью. И это совершенно другая история, потому что ребята все разные, и для всех нужен разный подход. И в моей команде работают очень классные девчонки, которые, знаете, они такие заточены на развитие. Они проходят курсы тьюторов, они ездят на цирковые семинары, и они тут же все это начинают прорабатывать с детьми. И мы сейчас описываем наш метод, как мы работаем с детьми с синдромом Дауна. Мы хотим это все вербализировать, чтобы можно было делиться этим опытом, и уже, чтобы это была какая-то доказательная история, чтобы не говорить просто, как классно мы работаем, у нас такой классный результат, чтобы у нас было уже такое вот доказательство с такими процентами, например, чтобы мы могли все это рассказать. Вот это наши прекрасные ребята. Школа цирковой педагогики — это проект, который мы придумали для того, чтобы продвигать идею нового цирка в России. Мы хотим, что как можно больше людей заразить вот этой идеей, что цирк — это классно. Поменять мнение людей о цирке. Этот проект мы проводим по запросу, то есть это не регулярный проект, а периодически мы его проводим где-то 1 раз в 2 года для совершенно разных участников. Например, мы проводили школу цирковой педагогики для социальных педагогов, которые работают с особыми детьми. Мы проводили модули для руководителей творческих организаций, не только цирковых студий, но и каких-то театральных проектов или музыкальных. Проводили школу педагогики даже, как ни странно, для воспитателей и педагогов из детского сада. Потому что в Новом Уренгое в России ведется строительство инклюзивного детского сада, и был запрос, и мы делали для их педагогов школу цирковой педагогики, где мы делились своим взглядом на то, как мы работаем с детьми, как надо относиться к детям, делились своим опытом в творческих направлениях. И это была такая очень классная, вдохновляющая история, когда ты можешь вот эти вот методики, которые ты увидел где-то в Европе, передать другим людям и открыть вот это видение, чтобы люди понимали, что есть очень современные, классные методы работы с детьми. За 5 лет вот этого существования проекта школы цирковой педагогики мы обучили порядка 120 педагогов. И вот эти педагоги, они разъехались в свои регионы, И когда мы получаем от них такие отзывы, что, ой, слушайте, ребята, мы выкинули все старые стулья из детского сада, и теперь мы сидим на полу на подушках, и это так классно, мы такие думаем, да, цирковая педагогика работает. Есть у нас новый проект «Фестиваль «Балансировка». Это фестиваль современного стрит-арта, современной уличной культуры. Первый раз мы провели его год назад, сейчас у нас будет небольшой блок в этом году в июне, и на следующий год, в 2020 году, мы хотим провести такой же масштабный фестиваль. На этот фестиваль мы приглашаем самые прогрессивные цирковые и творческие команды из Европы, из России. У нас уже приняли участие, наверное, ребята из Финляндии знают Race Horse Company, которые приезжали и хулиганили у нас на площадке. К нам приезжала из Академии Фрателлини из Франции Аньес Бран. И приезжал, например, к нам классный парень Таури Вахисар из Эстонии. Он вот на том слайде. Это слэклайнер. Вот сейчас кажется, что он прыгает на этих мячах, но на самом деле где-то здесь есть слэклайн. И изначально идея была, что вот на этих 22-этажных домах мы сверху протягиваем слэклайн, и Таури идет по этому слэклайну. Но он вообще сумасшедший человек, он так делает в горах и везде. И когда мы проводили тест нашего прекрасного перформанса, кто-то из администрации района увидел, что на высоте этих домов ходит человек, и поступил сигнал в руководство управляющей компании, где мы находились, и нам сказали: нет, ребята, хватит. И нам пришлось натянуть слэклайн над прудом. Это, конечно, была не такая блестящая идея, но это тоже было неплохо. Есть такая идея с фестивалем «Балансировка» выходить в спальные районы Санкт-Петербурга, потому что сейчас, когда город стремительно растет и понастроены вот эти спальные районы, куда люди переезжают, и там совершенно нет никакой инфраструктуры, и это становятся такие зоны тоже маргинальные, то есть там люди селятся, это как гетто какие-то. И мы хотим сделать такой мобильный фестиваль, который выходит не просто, чтобы люди к нам на территорию проходили, а что солоцирк с фестивалем, он уже выходит вот в эти пространства. И есть такой опыт, я знаю, что в Швеции, например, точно так же Субтопия приходила в криминальный район, и обосновывались цирковые ребята, и вокруг этого создавались творческие проекты, и таким образом менялась инфраструктура района. И вот наша идея, чтобы наши творческие проекты тоже влияли на общество, чтобы это было безопасное общество, чтобы это была возможность реализовывать свои вот эти вот потребности в риске безопасным, классным способом. Вот этот вот проект «Цирк за забором» — это, наверное, один из самых мощных и сложных проектов, который проводил цирк. С 2012 года наши тренеры проводили цирковые занятия и занятия по паркуру в специальной школе закрытого типа. Я не знаю, есть ли такой корректный перевод этого, но это такая школа, где находятся подростки, которые совершили правонарушения разной степени тяжести, но по возрасту они еще не могут попасть в колонию или в настоящую тюрьму. Но, в принципе, это такая тюрьма для детей. И вот эта вот спецшкола закрытого типа, там находятся такие реальные парни, у которых вот такие татуировки на руках, которые очень сложные, они сложно идут на контакт. Мы когда первый раз пришли знакомиться с этими ребятами в школу, то параллельно с нами пришла какая-то команда странных людей, которые стали показывать плакаты детям про то, как чистить зубы. И рекомендовали, чтобы их зубы были здоровы, есть побольше овощей. И мы сидели и смотрели вот на этих пацанов вот с этими татуировками, которые смотрели на людей, которые рассказывают, как чистить зубы. И это были голодные пацаны, потому что это очень странная, страшная школа. И мы понимали, вот какой бред творится в нашей стране, что к людям приходят вот с такой гениальной идеей, возможно, на это еще можно получить какой-то грант. Но мы пришли с цирком, цирк неплохо зашел, но потом все-таки больше интерес среди этих парней вызвал паркур. И вот уже когда ребята стали заниматься паркуром, это, вы знаете, это их какая-то эстетика, это их энергия. Случилось очень классное событие, потому что с ребятами мы поставили спектакль. И это было первое такое уникальное событие в этой школе. С нами вместе работали девчонки из проекта «Документальный театр». Ой, господи, проект «Вместе». Они занимаются документальным театром. И они очень много разговаривали с этими ребятами, и ребята смогли рассказать какие-то свои очень личные истории. И это, например, была история у кого-то про первую кражу, как он украл шоколадку в магазине. И что вот с этой вонючей шоколадки началась вот эта вот его история. Это были истории про мечты. Кто-то там мечтал о золотом велосипеде. Это были мечты таких вот парней. Это были очень простые мечты про семью, про родителей, про море. Эти истории были записаны, и спектакль получился такой документально-цирковой, как мы это любим, где ребята с помощью паркура, с помощью акробатики, живой музыки и вот этих историй рассказали вот это вот свое видение. Это тоже и был способ общения с людьми. И когда премьера этого спектакля состоялась, она состоялась именно в спецшколе. И это было уникально, потому что спецшкола в этот день открыла свои вот эти железные ворота. Мы продавали билеты на этот спектакль, и к нам шли зрители на территорию этой спецшколы. И приходили родители этих ребят. И один из отцов, который услышал историю своего сына, который рассказывал вот со сцены эту историю, отец был со слезами. То есть это было такое уникальное событие. Мы считаем, что этот опыт очень классный и глубокий. И сейчас, к сожалению, временно этот проект у нас остановлен, потому что спецшколу перевели из города в область. И это нет возможности туда ездить, потому что это порядка 200 километров от Санкт-Петербурга. И сейчас мы договариваемся с колонией для несовершеннолетних в Санкт-Петербурге, ищем проект-менеджера для работы в этом проекте, и все равно мы хотим продолжать развивать это направление. Ой, а вот это я и мои контакты. И я сейчас буду рада ответить на какие-то вопросы и подробнее рассказать, может быть, о чем-то. У меня есть еще... Так, как это называется? Наши брошюры, они на русском и на английском языке. Если кто-то хочет ознакомиться, взять контакты, их тут ограниченное количество, но я с удовольствием поделюсь ими.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It was very inspiring. I have two questions. The first one is, do you make an annual program besides the social circus? And if you do, how do you balance between the representations? And the second question is, how easily it is to get funding for the social circus in Russia? Do you do the annual program beside the social circus that, with the...
Постоянный репертуар на год, например. И как вы находите баланс между постоянным репертуаром и социальным проектом?
Спасибо большое за такую включенность. У нас такая история. В репертуаре цирка у нас есть спектакли, которые мы делаем с детьми. То есть именно эти спектакли, которые дети делают в процессе своих занятий в цирке, они репертуарные. И это спектакли с высоким техническим и профессиональным уровнем, потому что это, знаете, наша такая задача делать с детьми серьезные спектакли, чтобы это было не только для родителей интересная история, а интересная история для публики. То есть тут нет разделения между социальной работой и профессиональной работой цирковой. И практически все наши спектакли становятся участниками международных фестивалей. Мы ездим на гастроли по России, в Европу. И, то есть это история регулярная. Есть сейчас группу, 2 года назад ребята-выпускники организовали профессиональную группу. У них в репертуаре сейчас есть один спектакль «Эффект пинг-понгового шарика». И вот этот спектакль уже с таким уровнем, когда требуются очень хорошие физические навыки, и туда уже просто так не попадешь. То есть туда уже надо попасть с определенным уровнем физической подготовки. И вот с этим фестивалем, с этим спектаклем «Эффект пинг-понгового шарика» мы побывали год назад на фестивале «Фридж» в Шотландии, и месяц ребята показывали ежедневно этот спектакль, и вот сейчас я немножко похвастаюсь, мы получили неплохие отзывы про нашу работу, то есть это не высший балл, но достаточно неплохой отзыв, и это тоже повод для нашей гордости, потому что, ну кому скажи, что социальный цирк из России приехал на этот фестиваль и получил хорошие отзывы. Сейчас мы уходим от позиционирования нашей организации как социального цирка, то есть мы хотим быть современным цирком, чтобы из вот этого описания ушло слово «социальный», потому что, ну, в частности в России, это сразу же кажется, что социальный равно не очень качественный. И мы просто хотим быть современным цирком, который использует различные методики, который инклюзивный и делает классные программы. Не знаю, получилось у меня ответить на вопрос? По поводу вопроса по фандрайзинг. Это сложно. Мы отказались полностью от государственного финансирования, чтобы у нас сохранялась какая-то свобода действий у цирка. И основные источники поддержки организации – это российские и зарубежные бизнес-компании, это российские и зарубежные фонды негосударственные, которые поддерживают культурные и социальные проекты, и это частные пожертвования и коммерческая деятельность организации. Например, мы на все наши спектакли продаем билеты, это наш официальный коммерческий доход. Мы проводим платные мероприятия. Например, нас часто спрашивают, а может мой ребенок попасть в цирк? И вот есть такой анекдот в цирке. Мы спрашиваем, скажите, пожалуйста, ваш ребенок курит? Нет, что вы, он хороший мальчик. Скажите, пожалуйста, а ваш ребенок, может быть, выпивает? Нет, он хороший мальчик. Он говорит, к сожалению, тогда он не может к нам попасть. И для того, чтобы любой ребенок имел возможность заниматься в цирке, например, в период каникул мы проводим цирковую неделю, когда к нам может попасть любой желающий, и в течение недели ребенок может попробовать себя в различных дисциплинах. Ребенок может делать декорации, заниматься акробатикой, жонглированием, придумывать костюмы, и в конце недели мы показываем такой небольшой спектакль с участием детей. Это тоже одна из наших таких направлений коммерческой деятельности. Мы очень долго думали над тем, вообще очень сложно перейти вот от этого мышления некоммерческой организации, когда ты делаешь все бесплатно, перейти к вот этому бизнес-мышлению, когда ты начинаешь продавать свои услуги, и ты постоянно думаешь, господи, как же я могу, это же для людей, я же не могу брать с них за это деньги. Но постепенно мы вырабатываем такое тоже бизнес-мышление и разрабатываем эту нашу коммерческую историю.
Maybe you could show a trailer of a performance, because I know you have a lot of trailers, so at least we have one.
когда так волнуешься, думаешь, будешь говорить бесконечно, а потом поговорил, и оказывается, что у тебя еще куча времени. Да, сейчас я покажу промо-видео спектакля «Эффект пинг-понгового шарика». Это спектакль профессиональной группы. Вот этот спектакль, это версия немножко уже устарела, сейчас там поменялся состав, но этот спектакль, его тоже можно назвать инклюзивным, потому что там участвует один подросток с аутизмом, вот молодой человек, который сидит в шкафу, это подросток с аутизмом, и он гениальный жонглер. Он научился жонглировать 8 мячами, и когда его увидел профессиональный жонглер, он спросил: Господи, как он это делает? У него совсем нет техники. Но это вот тоже упорность Антона, потому что он может 3-4 часа жонглировать, мячи падают, он их поднимает, жонглирует. И это тоже такая уникальная история. В этом спектакле на сцене участвуют профессиональные музыканты, мы используем живую музыку, и в конце спектакля мы вываливаем в публике 1000 пинг-понговых шариков. Вот, и именно с этим спектаклем мы были на фестивале «Фриндж».
Мы ж в этом экране, просто надо налево кликнуть. Да, так, сейчас так. Нет.
А вот это спектакль, который получил премию «Золотая маска». В этом спектакле участвует 6 ребят с синдромом Дауна, 1 подросток с аутизмом, 2 профессиональных театральных артиста и выпускники нашего цирка, несколько человек и ребята, которые еще продолжают свои занятия в цирке. С этим спектаклем мы уже успели побывать на фестивалях в Германии, в Воронеже, в Москве. То есть это такая история, когда мы смогли с этим спектаклем охватить очень большую аудиторию, побывать в совершенно разных местах и совершенно разной публике, показать, что делать классные, качественные проекты с особыми ребятами, с ребятами из групп социального риска, это возможно, это нужно, и это действительно может быть очень красиво, и это может менять восприятие людей, вот этих вот, ну, скажем так, маргинальных групп общества. Это может менять стереотипы по поводу того, что эти люди не должны быть невидимыми. И это наша задача, наша вот такая вот сверхзадача — менять эти стереотипы общества. Я сейчас еще... Так. Я нашла фестиваль «Балансировка». А это вот современная уже версия спектакля. Мы используем колесо Сера. Вы знаете, если сравнить два этих видео, я сейчас поняла, можно увидеть, как наш цирк развивается. Потому что в первом видео вы видели вот такая подушка, от которой ребята отталкивались. Это камера трактора большого, и мы использовали ее в качестве циркового реквизита. А в этом видео у нас уже профессиональный такой батут используется, поэтому мы развиваемся.
У меня вопрос по поводу тех ребят, которые занимались, а потом ушли. Они социализировались, они себя нашли в каких-то других сферах, или вот вы сказали, 3 только осталось выпускника, да, кто продолжает работать в цирке. А что с остальными? Был эффект вот этот well-being?
Мы проводили исследования, когда 2 года назад мы искали по возможности всех ребят, которые занимались в Упсала-цирке за все эти годы, и узнавали, кто чем занимается. Профессионально цирком стали заниматься те ребята, которые остались у нас, и только 1 человек в прошлом году первый раз поступил в цирковое училище. Но у остальных ребят там были разные истории, но для нас был такой эффект, что очень много ребят пошло волонтерить, например, в какие-то общественные организации. Кто-то стал волонтером с людьми с особыми потребностями. Кто-то поступил учиться в колледжи или в институты. То есть есть эффект в том, что направление цирк задает для ребят. То есть это не стопроцентное какое-то решение проблем детских, потому что, конечно, есть кто или бросил цирк, или уже после выбрал какой-то другой свой путь развития. Но среди тех, кто выбрал для себя такой вот путь дальнейшего развития, может быть, это... Я сейчас, наверное, совру с процентами, но это не половина, но 40% ребят есть, для кого цирк стал таким этапом важным, который поменял их сценарий.
То есть они не пошли по пути криминальному, там, то есть эффект благополучия был, то есть они... Да, не обязательно с цирком, я не говорю именно о творческом каком-то развитии, а вообще о векторе, о направлении. Он задал им позитивный вектор.
Да. Я как раз говорю, что те ребята, которые поступали в колледжи, в институты, это не творческие какие-то вузы. Кто-то там выбирал для себя другие специальности. Но, опять же, это не стопроцентная гарантия того, что ребенок поменяет свой сценарий. Но это один из способов, это возможность поменять эту историю.
Спасибо.
Спасибо вам.
We will go for a lunch now. Mēs tagad būs pusdienu pārtraukums. Mēs tiekamies šeit atpakaļ 1:15, tas ir pēc 40 minūtēm. Apkārt ir vairākas pusdienu vietas. Mēs varam